I don't see it, Bill. It's not on yet.
Marilyn, your audio's on. Thank you. Gene, you need to unmute yourself.
I got it now.
I lost your picture. No, you're still blacked. No, we lost your picture. There you go. You're all set, Gene. No, your audio's still off. Your picture's back. Unmute yourself.
I'm trying, my friend.
You found it.
There it is.
Yeah, you're good.
Good, thank you.
Signing off.
Hey, Gene. Hey, Mark. Hey, Josh.
Hey,
Hi,
guys.
Deb. Hi, John.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Hello. Hello.
Hey, everyone. I have the speakers on my computer are kind of quiet, so I have an external speaker here. A few times people have complained that they get feedback. So if you hear any feedback, let me know and I can unplug it.
Okay.
That's good now. Hey, Jim.
Evening, everybody.
Hey, Jim.
Okay, it's 6:30. I see we have a quorum. I will call the April 29th, 2021 Selectmen and Board of Health meeting to order. It is 6:30. We don't have a lot of the agenda, but we do want to update on the COVID. So you want to take this over, Deb and John?
There
Okay,
you go. There you
Yeah.
go, Deb.
I'm good now. Okay, sure. So currently in Nahant, we have only 2 active cases. We have had 5 in the last reporting period for tonight's statistics, but we're still in the green. And so 2 is actually very good. Today we had a COVID vaccine clinic at our town hall, the first one that we've had with Lynn Board of Health. They brought over the vaccine and it was a relatively small clinic. We had 50 people in a 2-hour span, but I'm glad that we offered the people a chance to get the vaccine. I think that shows the low number of the turnout that most of our Nahant residents have been able to access the vaccine at other venues. So moving forward with the vaccines, the Lynn Board of Health has now received some Pfizer vaccine, which is the only vaccine that can be used for the 16-year-olds. So starting Monday, we'll be reaching out to that population to try to start now vaccinating 16 to 18-year-olds in high school settings. I know there's been a lot of changes in the governor spoke this week, but John, I'll let you speak to the changes in the groupings and the numbers and the events and so forth. So I think as far as the the COVID tracing goes, our numbers are still very low. And the vaccine now, everybody, I think the news, we want as many people as possible to get vaccinated so that when we get into the summer months and even looking forward into the fall, we're in a much better shape than we were last year, obviously.
Deb, could you talk a little bit about Lynn Tech Clinic throttling down and the Salem, the
Yeah,
regional
so,
approach?
well, there's a meeting tomorrow, so I don't have all of the details, but the sites that we're using with the Lynn Board of Health, our home site has been the Breed Junior High School. Tomorrow is our last day there because schools are open now, and I think the school needs the gym. The Lynn Tech site, as far as I'm aware, is good to go until the end of May, and then that site will be no longer vaccinating. So the move now for the North Shore Coalition, which includes Lynn, Nahant, Salem, Marblehead, Danvers, Peabody, and Beverly, there's talk now about making a mega site at the Salem State University O'Keefe campus. So there's a meeting tomorrow with the mayors and John, I don't know if you're participating in that, but
Yes.
to get into more of the details, when that will be starting. I know Cataldo is going to be involved. I'm not sure who's going to be receiving the vaccine. But my sense is that will be in place when these other vaccine centers that we're using now, when they come to an end. So we'll have more information on that after tomorrow's meeting.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I just also want to thank Deb and the Lynn Board of Health, all the nurses, Lynn Fire, Nahant Fire, Nahant PD. It was an extremely successful COVID vaccine that we hosted today. They did it. It's unbelievable how smooth of an operation Deb and the nurses have it down to like they could do it blindfolded. And it went so well. 50 people, but still a big, even though 50 is somewhat of a small number, we still, that's a big number for us and for a walk-in clinic. So just wanted to say thank you for that. We have dose 2 will be June 1st.
Mm-hmm.
I actually was able to get my shot today too, which was pretty cool. I was able to taste my dinner tonight, so I'm feeling pretty good. But I just wanted to thank you, Deb, and another feather in your cap throughout this whole process, helping set that up.
Well, thanks, Tony. It was I was happy that we were able to, get it, even if it was a small clinic, get something available in Nahant. So
Yeah.
Thank you, Deb. John, do you want anything to add, John?
Excuse me. I will add that even though today's clinic was small, Nahant is recognized on the North Shore as having the best stats, the best metrics with regard to community coverage. And so I also would like to thank the Lynn Board of Health for their assistance and for Deb for teaming up with the nurses there and joining the other public health nurses on the North Shore. This regional site that we are looking at Salem State University is a result of the collaboration between the public health directors, agents, and nurses on the North Shore. We're recognizing that, as has been said by the governor on many occasions, that the structure is in place, but we need the vaccines. And to that end, we've been reaching out as much as we can to get the vaccines to the state, but we've also been working collaboratively on a on communicating to the citizens of the North Shore the importance of getting vaccinated. We are experiencing, as has been the case throughout the country, that fewer and fewer people are turning out to become vaccinated. And obviously, if we are to get past this pandemic, even locally on the North Shore, we need for more people to turn out to get vaccinated. And I've been hearing misgivings from folks, and I try to explain, but far too many people have decided that they're either not going to or going to wait. But now is the time, when it is available, to get it and to join the rest of us who have been vaccinated. Otherwise, we will not be able to move toward the reopening that we have before us. And to that end, we have dates ahead of us. Tomorrow is a date, April 30th, and then May 15th and May 29th and August 1st. And these dates can only be, the reopening plans can only be enacted on those dates if all the metrics are in place. If our data holds and we continue to improve, then we can move forward. Otherwise, we have to hold off. And to that end, people need to be vaccinated. People need to continue wearing masks where people are inside, where people are within 6 feet of each other. And in mixed groups, we cannot count on how many people are vaccinated and how many are not. We have to assume that the masks continue to be needed. There are quite a few folks who have been caught up in the movement that we are making. And unfortunately for some folks, I've had to say no, that we have to stay with the 6 foot distance and the mask wearing in cases where some folks think that we should be able to relax. And as a municipal entity, the town has to continue to follow the minimum mandates and guidelines set by the State Department of Public Health. And as frustrating as it is, that is what we are committed to doing. Folks can continue to inquire and send in emails and such, and I will try to address them. And for events and organizations, people still do need to submit reopening plans and COVID-19 compliance plans. And I'll do my best to get back to them as quickly as I can.
That's great. Thank you, John. Thank you for the update. Okay, opening comments. I'm going to go through some house cleaning things, then we'll get into
Mr. Chairman,
business. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, just before we get to that, one more thing on COVID, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I would like to, as the Board of Health, I'd like you guys to vote to approve a plan that John and I have already reviewed with Linda Peterson, the Council on Aging Director, and approved ourselves. Our Council on Aging programs have been adapted to the COVID-19 pandemic by essentially turning into a takeout or a delivery service. So our lunches haven't, our seniors haven't been in the building since the pandemic started. That population, obviously vulnerable health-wise, but also, we're really striving to get them back together, giving them the opportunity to get together, to socialize. It's a huge, the Council on Aging programs in the building provide such a service to our seniors. So we met with Linda. Linda put together a great plan. John and I felt, Linda, I, and John, we all feel very strongly about doing whatever we can to get some seniors back into the building so that they can socialize in a safe way. The details of the plan are a Monday, Wednesday, Friday lunch, 6-foot distance, masks, wearing a mask, no mingling. All these seniors have to be vaccinated, and all volunteers have to be vaccinated. Very limited number of people, and it's certainly not 100% back to the joyous occasions of the Council on Aging lunches from the past, but it's one step closer there. John and I talked a lot with Linda about, we're opening the door a little bit. We're still not quite there as far as opening the entire town hall up to events or larger groups, but we felt like it was important to make a little bit extra effort for our seniors, to give them that opportunity to get together. So John, if you have anything to add as to the details of the plan or the process that we've gone through, I'd love to, ask the board to give us the green light on that.
Yes. As Tony said, we went over the plan with Linda, and we all have a good understanding of the target population and how the Tiffany room is conducted, the flow and such. And we think that if the plan, we have confidence the plan would be implemented as it is presented. And that's why I gave my written approval. But I agree with Tony. We're looking for the board's approval as well.
Okay, Josh, could you make a motion and we can have a discussion?
I move that the Council on Aging may open the Tiffany Room in accordance with the health guidelines approved by our Health Inspector, John Coulon.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussions. I think it's a great idea. They're eager to get out. As you said, they'll all be vaccinated. Anybody in that room will be vaccinated. So it's a great opportunity to, that seniors can get in contact with people now, and I think they need that. And I definitely support it.
Thank you. Yeah, there's certainly an intense level of cleaning before and after, mask wearing, volunteers are vaccinated, the seniors are vaccinated, and it's a limited number of people still spaced out at 6 feet apart. So it's certainly not we're certainly not just opening the door wide open and getting right back to where we used to be, but it's nice one step closer. And, you see schools, the state guidelines on schools making a little bit of an extra effort to get kids back into that social environment. It's the same kind of idea here, trying to do that for our seniors. So I appreciate the board considering this, and thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. Thanks, guys, for looking into this, and thank you, Linda, for putting all that work in.
Thank you.
All right, a few housekeeping things, and we'll get into business. Parking stickers are now available to purchase at nahant.org. They're $10. You'll need a valid registration. Real estate bills are due on May 3rd. If there are any questions, call the treasurer collector. The compost area is open for the season on Wednesdays and Saturdays, 9 to 3. You need to have resident sticker. Let's see. Recycling dates for metal, white goods, TVs, and computers will be the last Saturday of each month until October 30th, from 8 to 12 behind the DPW. You might want to check nahant.org to find out what you can bring there and what you can't. The Charles Kelly scholarships, we're still accepting. We extended the date. We're accepting applications. They're due tomorrow, April 30th. You can visit nahant.org for an application and instructions. Okay, spring is upon us and the beautification committee is looking for 2 more volunteers. Please send letters of interest to Christian K. Taylor at nahant.org. Mail or drop off at town hall. The Council on Aging has an open board member position. If anybody's interested, please contact Christian Taylor at ktaylor@nahant.org or drop something off at the town hall. Okay. Nahant
Hey, Mark.
bylaw. Yeah,
Mark,
go ahead. Yeah.
Can we kind of skip by opening comments? Just something to say or to compliment Peter Barber, if everybody was watching last night, the excellent presentation they gave on the Coast Guard housing. Really outstanding.
Yeah. Good.
The other is, pardon?
Yeah, they had good attendance, I see.
Okay, the other is, Tony, I've been asked by a few people if we can get a robocall on all our meetings from here on out. Is that possible?
We have meetings, you mean the Wednesday ones, or are you talking about? Because we're meeting the next 2 Wednesdays and the next 2 Thursdays. So I try not to be calling people every single twice a week for the next 2 weeks, but we could definitely do another one, sometime next week or something like that.
Okay,
Yeah, maybe.
It would be good to get one for the Zoom meeting we have on Wednesday. We're gonna have an information session similar to the one on the Coast Guard Housing Committee next Wednesday. So it would be really good to publicize that. We had thought about sending out postcards to everyone, but there's expense involved with that. So the Zoom, the robocall would be helpful for that to get greater attendance than we typically get at Selectmen's meetings.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to do it. Like I always say, I announce my name right at the beginning so people can hang up on me right away if they don't want to hear it. I try not to call people too often, but I don't see any problem with doing that early next week.
how often are we going to be putting these meetings on the Nahant channel?
So all of our Board of Selectmen meetings are broadcasted to the Nahant channel. Sometimes Concom and Planning Board meetings are also broadcasted, but those Wednesday meetings that we put together, the informational sessions,
Yep.
all 3 of them will be broadcasted to the local TV channel. But in order for people to participate or ask questions, they have to be on Zoom. But yeah, thanks for saying that, Gene. I thought they did a good job as well. I think that those, last night's informational session on Coast Guard housing was 2 hours. So, if hopefully a lot of people did tune in, and that might cut down the length of time that we are debating the issue come, Saturday the 15th. So, the more we can inform people ahead of time, the better they feel. The more comfortable they feel, they get their answers to certain questions ahead of time, speeds up the whole process come town meeting day too. So definitely helpful.
Point well taken.
Very good. One last notice here, as spring and summer come upon us, the dog laws, no person shall permit a dog on any of the town beaches from May to September 30th. Except the beach on Castle Road opposite the Coast Guard station, commonly referred to as Doggy Beach. Okay, next session is new business. We're going to, after the election was held, and we're going to vote to reorganize. Go ahead.
Can I just make a couple quick opening comments? I just wanted to remind people of the May Day event, May 1st, this Saturday at Lodge Park. I think it's arts in Nahant. There'll be artists displaying their wares and dancing, and the weather forecast looks good. So I hope to see a lot of people up there. I'll certainly be there. And one other thing is moorings will be installed shortly. So I just want to remind people to get their mooring permit applications into the harbor master. Over the winter, the harbor master has developed new mooring guidelines to help prevent some of the mooring drags and midpoint shackle failures that we've seen over the last couple of years. So make sure you learn what those guidelines are. So just a quick reminder for all the boaters out there.
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks.
Thanks, John.
Okay, we have reorganized the board. So Gene, you got the first motion here.
Gene, I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to appoint Joshua Antrim to Chairman of the Board of Selectmen.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
So go along with that. Josh Antrim, aye.
Go ahead, Josh. You get the next one, I guess.
Before we move on, I just was hoping to say a few words about that. So thank you to the board for your support and the opportunity to continue to serve Nahant in this capacity. Although I'm the chair now, I know we'll continue to operate as we have over the past year, functioning very much as a board and sharing the load. This board has been very effective. There are no big egos here, just three Nahant citizens pulling together for the town we love. These are prepared remarks, by the way. As I reflect back on the past 2 years, I'm encouraged by the progress the town is making. I'm not taking credit for this. A lot of this goes to Tony and other board members and all the town employees. But sometimes things take longer than I expect or want, but tangible progress is at hand for issues that have been lingering. We'll have shovels in the ground in early fall to install the new sewer line along the Linway, which, as we all know, is sorely needed. The Coast Guard housing topic that we just discussed is on the agenda for town meeting. It's a tough topic because there are so many possible configurations and options, but it is important that the town has a chance to vote on it. If funding is passed at town meeting, we'll see improvements to the drainage in the Fox Hill Ward Road lowlands area completed by the fall. It sounds like we'll be seeing improvements at the Little Nahant end, a short beach dune and playground. A couple of nice recreational improvements will be underway with the new tennis courts and basketball courts at Flash Road, and also a refurbishment of the Spring Road basketball court. So it's great to see these needed improvements coming up this year, and I believe Nahant is trending in the right direction. Finally, when I ran for selectman 2 years ago, my campaign slogan was, "Let's work together for Nahant." And it's not just a slogan. It is my sincerest wish and hope for our town this year and into the future. Thank you.
Well said, Josh, and a great summary, and I'm sure you'll do a great job. And it's been a pleasure serving for the past year as chair. But I do look forward to you taking the seat over the next couple of next year anyway. So good luck, and I'm sure you'll do a great job.
Thank you. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank you for the really outstanding job that you've done over the past year as chair. So thanks a lot, Mark.
Congratulations.
Both you guys are to be commended on the work and the level of effort you put into this. And Mark, thanks so much for coming back, pal.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Gene. Okay, we voted on that. We have the next motion, Josh, if you would,
Okay. Well,
and then you can take over.
I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to appoint Eugene Canty, as the Vice Chairman of the Board of Selectmen.
Second,
Any discussion? I don't think so. All All in favor?
Mark
Gene
Cullen and I.
Canty, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye.
Uh,
I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to appoint Mark P. Cullinan as a recording secretary for the Board of Selectmen.
Second,
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Roll call vote. Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. That's all yours, Josh.
All right. Thank you. The
I move that
next
the board,
topic is, oh, go ahead.
okay, I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the Board of Selectmen executive session meeting minutes from April 1st, 2021.
Second,
Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing and hearing none, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
Josh Antrim, aye. The next topic is ongoing business, preserving East Point. This topic tonight is a discussion on the response to Northeastern's eminent domain statements. So I do have some important news before we get into the response to Northeastern's mailings and Zoom meeting. There is some important news to share, which is that as many people know that the CPC funding Article 21 and the Article 22, which is the eminent domain authorization article, require $3 million from private donations in order to both execute the $1.5 million bond or enact eminent domain. So the important news that we have to share tonight is that the full $3 million will be donated to Nahant and in Nahant's possession prior to town meeting. So we will have that $3 million prior to town meeting. So that's exciting news for all of us. And also very important news to share about the specifics of those donations. It's been agreed to that the donated $3 million will be spent first. So that means that if the ADA Commission determines the taking fee and our legal fees are less than $3 million, there'll be no need to even take the $1.5 million bond. So as a reminder, our real estate appraisal came in at $2 million. We expect about $500,000 in legal fees. That's $2.5 million. And then we have $2 million in contingency. So if those numbers hold, the private donations will cover the whole thing. So that is great news. And just as importantly, if the price is too high and the town decides to abandon the taking, the private donations will still be spent first. So this is huge news, and the generosity is greatly appreciated. But I think it's important to let people let that sink in, that money will be spent first, and that potentially minimizes or even eliminates the need of financial contribution from the CPA funds. So happy to share that news.
Yes.
It's amazing, Josh. Because as you know, under the community preservation funding, all the town is doing is authorizing the Board of Selectmen to do that borrowing. And if we don't need to do it, all the better.
Yeah. So moving on to response to the mailings and the Zoom presentation by Northeastern. I listened to Northeastern's information session last week with great interest. First of all, it was interesting that they're suddenly referring to this project as a renovation of the Marine Science Lab instead of the Coastal Sustainability Institute that they've been talking about for a few years now. There are a number of things about that presentation that bothered me, quite frankly. Like Northeastern saying that they listened to the residents' concern at that town hall meeting and reduced the size of the building from 60,000 square feet to 55,000 square feet. I was at that town hall meeting almost 2.5 years ago now, and the people weren't requesting a 55,000 square foot building. They were requesting no building. So a little bit of tone deafness there, but the bulk of the meeting was Ralph Martin discussed the history from the 1960s, which really isn't relevant to the issue at hand here, except maybe as a reminder to Nahanters that maybe we made a mistake in not keeping this land in the 1960s and that we shouldn't make the same mistake twice. The remainder of his talk was basically scary talk about the potential costs to the town, which included inaccurate statements and unsubstantiated statements. The Board of Selectmen has produced and provided to the public written reports on all the costs associated with eminent domain. Northeastern has not offered a single expert opinion to substantiate its claims of dire financial consequences. I'm assuming because it has none. I was also quite surprised to hear Mr. Martin suggest there are other motives at hand on the part of the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen is comprised of 3 people who have lived in this town for most of our lives, raised our family in this town, are volunteering our time in helping this town. There's no personal gain for us as individuals. We're simply trying to preserve conservation land for the public to enjoy in the future. We're level-headed, responsible people who have had successful careers and are now giving of our time for the community that we love. We believe a beautiful, publicly accessible park is preferable to the largest non-military development in the history of Nahant, no matter how beautiful that building might be. Contrast this with the Northeastern people you heard from. They're probably very nice people in a different setting, but they are highly paid employees fighting hard for the billion-dollar corporation that employs them. They have no stake in Nahant. They don't live here. They don't pay taxes here. They're just employees trying to do a good job for their employer who wants to unnecessarily develop this beautiful land. Northeastern will develop this natural resource land unless we act to save it. Mr. Martin's unsupported scare tactic that there were $250,000 per month costs associated with construction delays, and thus a 2 to 3 year delay would result in $6 to $9 million in damages if Nahant were to abandon eminent domain via Chapter 80A were concerning. We have on the line with us tonight our eminent domain lawyer, Mr. Masterman. Mr. Masterman, if the town abandons the taking under 80A, what would be the position of the town if Northeastern claims in court that it is entitled to be paid for construction delays?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members of the board, and good evening to those people who are listening. I did not get a chance to listen to the presentation of Northeastern, but Mr. Martin's comments have been related to me. I mean, I've known Ralph Martin for maybe 30 years. I've got great respect for him and always have had. And let me say this, you don't get to be general counsel of a major university like Northeastern University unless you're a supremely talented lawyer and a respected individual. In this circumstance, however, if he were to authorize making a claim for construction damages as a result of an abandonment of a Chapter 88 proceeding, I believe that that motion or that claim would fail. And I base that on a reading of the law as it exists today. There are gaps in the law. We admit readily that there are no cases under Chapter 80A that interpret certain provisions that allow for the recovery of land damages of Northeastern. But there is a well-developed body of the law in eminent domain jurisprudence, not only under Chapter 79 in Massachusetts, but throughout the country, where we're talking about an analogous situation referred to as a temporary taking. And why do I think that that would be the best position for the town to advance in open court? If we threaten to take this property by an order of intention to take, and then later decide to abandon it for any reason, for the period of time between the adoption of the order of intention to take and abandonment, we've effectively taken the property. I think we can concede that, at least insofar as what Northeastern's use of the property is, the city has effectively taken parts of their ownership interests. Northeastern, if that situation were like a temporary taking, Northeastern is entitled to be paid for that period of time, the period of time that was subject to the town's use of this property. One can liken it to a situation where, let's say, a private owner could exclude others from the use of this property. During the period of time, Northeastern could take a position that they no longer have that right to exclude others. So I'm saying it is similar to a temporary taking. In temporary taking jurisprudence, a landowner is entitled to be paid the fair value of the use of that land for the period of time of the temporary taking. It is similar to a rental of the land. And this is a concept that has been sanctioned by Massachusetts cases, by United States Supreme Court cases, and all those that we can find that have anything to do with the temporary use of the land. Now, how does that relate to this? A temporary taking or the use of the land relates to the fair rental value of the real estate for the period of time that it was subjected to the temporary taking. The cases, one after another, say that when you assess land damages, you do not include what are referred to as consequential damages. Consequential damages might be something similar to business loss. The cases, one after another in Massachusetts and elsewhere, but for a few states, do not award business loss damages because it has nothing to do with the real estate. In this situation, there isn't one case under General Laws Chapter 79, and again, this is by analogy, or any other taking situation that we have been able to find in our extensive research, and we've done some throughout the nation. It's not as exhaustive as what we're familiar with in Massachusetts, but we've looked around, and there isn't one case that awards damages for construction delay. They would have to prove that the land is less valuable in the 2 years when they get it back in, let's say, 2 years than it was at the time of the taking. We are making no entry physically. We are not altering the land itself. We are not preventing Northeastern from using the property. They are entitled to be paid for whatever it appears to be was the town's use of this property, and maybe taking away Northeastern's exclusive use of the property. And case after case after case have said that that is the fair rental value of the real estate for the period of time that it's been in public use. That position, I am confident, is supported by the case law, and there is none that says otherwise. And that would be the position of the town, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So not a single, you found not a single case where construction delays were part of the damages.
In an eminent domain case for temporary takings or anything analogous under the eminent domain jurisprudence, not one.
Thank you. Mark or Jean, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'd just like to add, if I could, is that a change in approach, or it's just a comparison or an outline of how this works?
I'm not sure I understand the question, Gene. What do you mean change in
So
approach?
we're going after eminent domain, and we're talking about a taking. Is the taking part of that?
This is the only time this comes up is if we abandon a taking.
Okay,
So we are comparing the period of time that the property is under the threat of a taking under Chapter 80A until the time of abandonment to something that's it's referred to as being tantamount or analogous to a temporary taking.
Okay,
And for that period of time, we would owe them damages
yeah,
equal to the rental of that land for that period of time.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, I do have a few things I wanted to say, but now that we have Mr. Masterman with us, simply that I agree that that was one of the issues when I watched the Northeastern seminar that was shocking, and I'm glad, Jim, that you could shine some light on that. I do have some other comments, Josh, but I'll let you continue and I can finish them a little later.
That's all I had at the moment.
Okay. You know, like Josh, I watched the webcasts, I guess it was, and I was somewhat concerned and upset. Here's my view of things after the past sort of 2 years of focusing on this. It seems to me that the town is split into 3 groups, and I don't want to oversimplify this, but 3 essential groups. One group believes that what Northeastern is proposing in their expansion is okay, that they support what their efforts, and they don't feel that it's a major issue for the town, and they should be allowed to go ahead with their work. That's their opinion. I may disagree with it, but I respect their opinion. The other group, on the other side of that matter, is a group that I probably belong to, and that's a group that feels that, you know, it's tough to put a price on the environment. And the town has, for the past 40 years, by voting this a natural resource area, demonstrated how we feel that property should be used. And we always thought, at least I always thought, even as town administrator, that that was Northeastern's position, that they were going to keep it as a wildlife preserve and continue to do the work, the fine work that they've been doing. But then there's a group in the middle, and this group may feel that they support eminent domain, they don't want to see the development, but they're nervous about finances. They're nervous. They've been told that, you know, there's going to be a financial Armageddon of some sort if the town goes ahead with this. And they may be reluctant, based on that, to vote for eminent domain. So I'd like to talk to those people for a brief minute, because I think the ones on either side probably aren't going to change their mind, no matter what I say, or no matter what's discussed at town meeting. It's those people in the middle that need to understand the facts. You know, I think most people know that I've spent the last 20 years planning and managing the town's finances. I understand very clearly my fiduciary responsibilities. I understand very clearly people's concerns about tax rates. And that's why we've kept Nahant's tax rate as one of the lowest in Essex County for the past 2 decades. I hear that. We've gone through this procedure, Josh, as you just outlined, in the funding and choosing ADA as a process to give us off ramps to protect the town. And I feel at this point, the plan that we have in place presents absolutely no financial risk to the town of Nahant. People in that middle group may not believe me, but I encourage them to read closely the Finance Committee's report when they get it in the mail in the next week or so, because I think the Finance Committee understands it. Now, the Finance Committee is not appointed by the town administrator or the Board of Selectmen. It's an independent committee. It's a watchdog committee that looks over the actions of the town administrator and the Board of Selectmen. Let me just say a few things that you'll see in the Finance Committee's report, in their statement. They say, simply put, the 2 eminent domain related articles, they are the borrowing, the 1.5 borrowing, and the authorization to take mitigate much of the financial risk and minimize the financial exposure to the taxpayer. They further go on and say, and I'm quoting this, the Finance Committee, the eminent domain funding includes $1.5 million in borrowing from the CPA, which benefits from a state match historically averaging more than 60%. Since CPC funding is already built into the real estate tax rates, real estate taxes will not be increased because of eminent domain. In response to Northeastern's allegation that taking the property by eminent domain will expose the town to huge financial costs, the FinCom says there's been much speculation regarding the town being forced to pay an unexpectedly large court-imposed valuation. However, these two articles mitigate this risk by capping expenses and allowing the town to withdraw from the process if expenses exceed that amount. Further, there is little, if any, credible evidence of such an unexpected cost. The Finance Committee has seen no statements from any experts supporting a large evaluation. And when they were told that Northeastern was going to give the town $6 million over a 40-year period, the Finance Committee responded by saying Northeastern's proposed expansion will cost the town additional multi-millions, 3 to 6 times more than the $6 million that they offer. If you don't believe what the Board of Selectmen are telling you, listen to the Finance Committee. We're telling you the truth. We're being transparent. And I was very upset when I watched that webcam. What upset me the most was Northeastern's general counsel basically accused the Board of Selectmen, I think I'm quoting him, making deliberate misrepresentations. Well, where I come from, that's being called a liar. I don't appreciate being called a liar, and I'm sure you don't, Josh, and I'm sure you don't, Gene. We're not lying. We're not misrepresenting the facts. We are telling the truth. We are being transparent. It's Northeastern who is scaring, bullying, and threatening the public. Northeastern claims that in that webcast also, Northeastern claimed that the Board of Selectmen is not negotiating in good faith. All we are asking is that Northeastern consider locating their development at a different location. They responded by saying there's no other feasible location for the development. We know for a fact that that is not true. Northeastern knows that that's not true. Northeastern has plans and renderings that they have not shared with the Board of Selectmen or the public that show an alternative location. I think with eminent domain, that will be on the table. We need to negotiate. We're not trying to force Northeastern out of here. We're just forcing them to the table so we can all agree on a project that benefits the town and Northeastern. That's all I have to say, Josh. I wanted to say more, but I had to bite my tongue. So.
Thank you, Mark. Powerful words, very powerful words. Gene, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, if I could, I'm not sure that people really understand what is going on. And that isn't just the now, it's for the future. In the presentation by Ralph Martin, one of the questions that came up was that given the conservation restriction, that there would be no further projects constructed. And Ralph Martin said, no, only a redo of the Edwards Center. Well, the Everett Center happens to be the second project in the alternative list. And that project includes a 3-story building on the northerly side of the campus. That's a big faux pas. The other question that he loosely responded to was the area of conservation restriction. He said they would, excuse me, they would provide a conservation restriction for all of the area to the east. Beyond the project, beyond the bunker, the Murphy bunker, there is nothing else eastward. Now we're looking at probably 10 acres in which they can move their projects around. If I could, I just wanted to make a point here, and that is in the final impact report, environmental impact report, that 1,000-page booklet, which is not bedtime reading, it indicates in there that through all this, alternative one would construct the CSI building north of the existing Edwards Laboratory in the area currently occupied by 2 other modular trailers. Not talking about the 3 stories they'll go up on the research facility, but alongside it. Alternative 2 would construct the CSI building southwest of the Murphy bunker, connected at the south entry port. Alternative 3 would construct the CSI building east of the Murphy bunker in the Meadowland next to Lodge Park. I don't think when we did Lodge Park, we had any thoughts at all of this happening, this, what we'll call an aesthetic imbalance. We had hints of it because when we were doing it, I can clearly recall some of the people that were working over in the research center at that time, talking about projects, future projects, and how nice it was that we, the town of Nahant, were building this beautiful vista.
Lost my tape.
3 or 4 years ago, there was a professor there who talked about Northeastern clearly identifying 3 to 4 new projects over 10 years. He unfortunately is no longer employed there. So I guess what I'm saying here is we're looking at, and people have to understand this, it does not stop here. If this goes through, it now becomes alternative 1, becomes project 1, alternative 2 project. In fact, there's a 4th. So just so people clearly understand, this is what could be coming.
Thanks, Gene. And, I know that area is special to you. I recently came across a photograph, an old photograph of you and Calantha Sears up at the creation of Lodge Park 30 years ago. So it's incredible. Your dedication is still shining through 30 years later. So thanks for those comments.
If I could, Mark was there at the time in this project. We had Linda Pivacek, Bill Mahoney, Rick Kennedy, and the driver of the whole thing, guess who? Calantha Sears. She was on top of this from the minute we decided to do it until we finished it, and she celebrated it up at the monument. Thank you, Calantha.
I hope we gave her something else to celebrate soon.
Yes.
Well, so this effort to save East Point has been going on for a few years now. At first the argument was, we can't stop them, but, with eminent domain, we can. And we'll have the leverage to negotiate a more acceptable solution, as Mark mentioned a few moments ago. next came the argument, we can't afford a legal fight. It'll cost so much money. Then private donors stepped up and agreed to fund the town's expenses. Then the claim was the land costs will be many millions, and we hired an expert land appraiser that determined the taking amount at a little bit under $2 million. Then it was, we'll lose Northeastern's offer. And as the FinCom astutely pointed out, and Mark just read off, the financial assessments were performed that show that the expanded Northeastern will cost the taxpayers far more than Northeastern's offer. Then it was, what if the courts judged that the land cost determined it is more than $4.5 million? So we rewrote the warrant article to require eminent domain via Chapter 80A, which allows the town to back out if the price is too high. Next came, what if we don't get the $3 million in private donations? So we rewrote the articles to state that we can't do anything until we have the $3 million. In other words, we can't take the CPC bond or execute eminent domain until we have that $3 million. And as we learned just recently and just announced, we'll have that $3 million even before town meeting. So this brings us up in the course of the history of this thing to a couple weeks ago. And Northeastern strategy has become to present this very high backing out price. And again, offered no evidence or no substantiation to support the claim, none. As Mr. Masterman said, they haven't been able to find a single case where construction delay costs are included in the damages. So along the way, these arguments were spiced up with claims in social media, questioning the Board of Selectmen's wisdom, loyalty, and even integrity. Now even Northeastern has joined in this tactic, as Mark just pointed out. This is a tactic that's used when there's nothing else left. We've addressed all these concerns, and like you stated, Mark, if someone questions my integrity, it doesn't say much about me, but it says a lot about them. And we have, in town, as there are people that have different positions on this issue. I respect that. But what I really hate to see is, people trying to pit each other against each other, as rich versus poor, or East Point versus the rest of Nahant. If someone's trying to present this as something like that, you'd ask yourself, why are they doing this? What is the motivation? This is not Nahanter versus Nahanter. This is Nahant limited open space and conservation land versus unnecessary development. So the risks are all addressed. Now the question becomes a simple one. Do you want that land developed or not? It's a binary question. It's yes or no. There's no half building. There's no part-time building. It's, do you want the building? Yes or no. And it's forever. It's a forever question. The decision's yours. The decision is the Nahant voters on May 15th. A yes vote puts Nahant in control of the situation. I know how I will vote. I only ask my fellow Nahanters to tune out the noise and the false fears and make their own decisions. That's all I had on the matter.
Can
Well said.
Can I add something to that?
Mark and
Mark, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jim.
Just the fact that I'm out there talking to people as you guys are, trying to pull this together, or at least make some semblance of what's taking place. And I find that probably only 40% of the people I talk to have been up to the park. It is incredible as that might seem. That's the number I'm calculating. Those are the same people that are going to vote. So I guess what I'm saying here is I'm encouraging people to go up to the park to see the most beautiful vista from here to Cadillac Mountain in Maine. gather the data, understand the data, and make a good vote. I think it's very important that people follow those procedures.
I agree. Josh, I know that.
Thanks, Mark. Did you have anything more to add?
Just you might be addressing it later, but I know that the board has received a number of procedural questions for town meeting, and I understand that town council, Jeff and Dan and Tony are gonna be working with the town moderator to get the answers to those questions.
Hello there, may I speak?
We're not having a citizens forum tonight. It's we've got a late start. We do have another meeting next Thursday, so we're gonna have a citizens forum at that time. Tony's got a baby, looks like he needs to tuck in, so we'll defer that. But yeah, and I just want to say, I do understand people having financial concerns about this, and I'm a frugal Yankee myself. I don't want to spend anything more on taxes, and we've tried our best to share the information that we've collected over the last couple of years on the nahant.org website. Especially those folks that aren't as well versed on the topic as those of us that have been working on it for a couple of years. I'd encourage you to get to that website and go through those documents. And if there's any questions, we're happy to answer them. We do have this Zoom informational meeting next Wednesday, totally devoted to this topic. So if you have any questions, it'd be best to get those to us in advance. Maybe the easiest thing to do is email them to Kristen Taylor at ktaylor@nahant.org, and we'll do our best to answer those next Wednesday. Yeah, I just I understand that this is can be an intimidating topic. A lot of legal issues are. We've tried our best to make this as risk-free, and I think we've succeeded in that. I think Mark said it very well, that we think we've created a risk-free situation that saves a beautiful place. It's really that simple, and that's our goals are no more complicated than that. To save a natural preserve for the public to enjoy, and that's our only motivation here. We certainly understand the concerns, and would be happy to address them any way we can. So.
Hey, Josh, for everybody, could you repeat that email address for people to send in their questions?
Yes, it's K Taylor, so KTAYLOR @nahant.org. I should confess we didn't tell Kristen she might be getting a lot of emails, but hopefully she can deal with that. Any more comments, Mark or Jean, before we wrap this up?
No, I'm all set. I'm all set.
No, I notice it's coming across the screen. People are disappointed there's no questions tonight. But I think the easiest way to handle this is the way you're handling it, and that is get your questions in, give us an opportunity to look them over, then bring them back out in the meeting next Wednesday. And then that will have the opportunity to answer.
All right. With that, do we have a motion to close the meeting?
Excuse me, what about agenda item number 7?
Agenda item number 7. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. It's the town administrator's report. Looks like he's rocking his baby right now.
We see her, Tony?
She's not settling all that well, but essentially we signed a contract. We got $50,000 in reimbursement from FEMA for money spent on COVID. So as throughout the vaccine, we've been documenting all money spent on COVID costs. There's money we get back, we get reimbursed for vaccine related costs, and then there's money we get back for other COVID related costs. This 50 grand is for that other portion. So it's kind of like under the CARES Act type of stuff. And I just wanted to share that with the town, with the board, that, you know, that we just signed that, and we should be getting, you know, about 50, I think it was $53,000 reimbursed from FEMA in the next week or so.
All right, thanks for that, Tony. Did you have anything else for your town administrator's report?
No, I did get an email today. The other day we talked about an earmark that we requested Representative Capano's office for $80,000 for a telecommunications project that would connect all of our town buildings with fiber wire. And we got notice today that 25,000 was accepted in the House version of the budget. So Senator Crichton will be I know it's not the full 80, but that's a good first step. And then Senator Crichton will be advocating on behalf of the rest of that. So that's some other good financial news for the town.
All right. Again, we will have this Zoom information session next Wednesday. Please get your questions in advance. And just to let people know that if for some reason you can't attend next Wednesday, do send in your questions, and that Zoom meeting will be aired on the cable channel so that you can watch it if you're unable to attend next Wednesday. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
What about
Second.
agenda item 7 says citizens forum on the posted notice.
That's not what I see, but let me go to nahant.org.
It is, Mr. Chairman, it is on the agenda.
Okay.
It doesn't, so it doesn't require you to have it. It's up to you.
Well, no, I mean, if it's on the agenda, yeah, my apologies, Brendan. We will do that. Let's try to keep it brief, but yeah, sorry about that. And let's go ahead. I don't know. It doesn't look like Tony's in a position to moderate this. So
Okay, I was hoping. Yeah, Brendan Bronick, Olmsted, 2 Summer Street. I did have a question about how the valuation of the conservation land is determined. Seeing how the conservation land can't really be monetized, you can't develop it. There's limited parking space. We can't sell tickets to it. We can't sell permitting. Can't get permitting fees from it. So how is actual market value determined for conservation land?
well, the appraisal, a summary of the appraisal is on nahant.org, and it addresses all those. It addresses all those matters. The best way to find it is to. I'm going to try to walk you through it if I can. So if you get to the, let's see, on the cover page, there's a list on the right. Where do I go for it? And if you go to Oh, NU proposed expansion. If you click on that link, there's a number of documents there listed, and one of them is the a summary of the appraisal. So you click on that, and it explains how that how the appraisal was done and how those numbers came.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, everyone.
Okay, no, you're okay, Tony. Next question.
Whit Brown, 23 Phillips. I'd like to address the FinCom. I believe the FinCom had 5 votes for Articles 21V and 22. No recommendation was, there were 3 alternatives that you could have. 1 to recommend, 1 to be no recommendation, and 1 to not recommend. The FinCom was unable to get any agreement among their 8 members as to any of those 3 options. And we did 5 votes, and one of those votes was to reconsider without getting any recommendation or any not recommendation, or to give no recommendation. So it was a complete deadlock. And the article that was written should be read in its entirety. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, let me just say that I think Mr. Brown is incorrect. Article 21 was recommended by the Finance Committee. There was a deadlock on Article 22. The passages that I read tonight were simply taken directly verbatim from the FinCom's approved statement in their book.
And the statement should be read in its entirety.
Well, I'm sure that every resident will. It's being mailed to them, so they'll have the opportunity to do that.
Thank you.
Any other next question? So let's use the chat to ask questions as opposed to debate, please.
I would just say, Mr. Chairman, before we get to this, some discretion should be used because, our council, we set up next Wednesday night for an open, full hearing on this to, address questions. So there could be questions that are legal in nature or procedural that we may not have answers to tonight, but we will on Wednesday night when everybody is on board.
Okay, yeah, maybe we can just take 2 more questions if we have them, and then take the rest on next week. Are there any additional questions? I see Ken raising his finger.
I want to raise my whole hand, but one short question, I think. The procedural questions that you had referred to, because I know I sent in a few and there are some others floating around. Obviously, it would be best to have that discussion ideally with the moderator well before town meeting. If not tonight, when would we expect to get those answered or see that discussion?
I believe town council has scheduled a meeting with the moderator and town administrator, and hopefully they'll meet soon.
Yeah, the town council moderator, myself, and the clerk are hoping to meet next week sometime. Ken, all those procedural questions were good, really well thought out. I think that it's going to take us a little bit to get through them, but certainly with the hope is to have all those ironed out, in advance of town meeting. Certainly we do meet the Thursday before town meeting with the finance committee. As you know, that's not, that meeting is a working meeting. There is no citizens forum in that one. That's where the moderator really walks through each article and talks about the motions and how many, if it's a simple majority or a 2/3 vote. The idea would be to have answers to that before we even go into that meeting.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
thanks for sending those in.
Yeah, and just for those who didn't read them, the questions regard reordering the warrant articles, either the selectman and or the moderator doing it before the meeting, whether the meeting can vote to reorder the articles and take these other ones earlier, whether the article or the bylaw that talks about taking a separate ballot vote outside of town meeting is actually valid. And the fourth question was around reconsideration, how that works, which basically allows the vote to be reversed. So those have come up. Have come up in the past, and hopefully you will have enough time to discuss them and allow the public to see it before we actually get down to the field. And my second question is related to, again, what the FinCom's analysis. DeWitt mentioned they didn't actually come to a recommendation, but the FinCom had not seen any appraisal that was higher than the town's. The town's appraisal was based on one methodology. It did not particularly consider any alternatives, for instance, how Northeastern might appraise the property. And when the FinCom tried to talk to Northeastern, that wasn't allowed for legal reasons. So how would the FinCom have seen anything other than what was put in front of them to try to make a balanced assessment?
Well, I suppose Northeastern could have sent the FinCom whatever material they had anytime they wanted. They chose not to, I guess.
Okay. So, fair enough. They could have mailed it in, I guess. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions? Going once? All right, so I guess that's it for tonight. Apologize for the confusion about citizens forum. I didn't realize that was on the agenda. Hopefully everyone can tune in next Wednesday. Again, please send in your questions. What we want is an informed voting populace. So hope to see you all then.
Motion for
Glad we
adjournment.
have a motion.
Second?
All in favor? Roll
Gene
call vote.
Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
Josh Andrew, aye. Good night,
Thanks, everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.